Hi, it's Diederik Gelderman here from Highlands Veterinary Hospital. I'm recording this at the end of 2018, and the reason I'm doing that is there's been so many stories in the news over 2018 about animals attacking, or dogs specifically attacking family members, and more specifically children. I do remember a really sad news story about a young 14-month-old girl in Western Australia who was actually bitten and killed by the family dog. Dog bites are something that in Australia particularly seem to be occurring with increased frequency. And the last records that I could find show that about 4,000 people every year are admitted to hospital with a dog bite injury. And that's a huge number. Now, a large proportion of that 4,000 are actually children under the age of 12 years. And that's an incredible statistic to me. These sorts of stories are absolutely devastating for everyone involved in the situation. That's without doubt. And the family, the whole community, everyone at home who has children or who has a pet can empathise with this situation. It's absolutely horrible, and it's almost too horrific to even think about the possibility that may occur. One of the saddest things, I believe, is that many of these scenarios, of these cases, can actually be prevented. Now, I don't know the specific situation with that story about the 14-year-old girl, and I don't know the specific situation about any of the stories that were in the news last year. So I can't make specific comments about any of those stories, including the one about the 14-year-old girl. And I can't comment at all about what's happened with that particular dog and with that particular child. And so I do want to say, however, first and foremost, that I see many dogs every day at work. And I've seen dogs at work now for over 40 years. That's how long I've been a vet. And I guess that makes me a little bit more, have a little bit more knowledge than the general run-of-the-mill person or the general community about being able to recognise stress and anxiety in dogs. And that's a really important thing. Recognising the stress and the anxiety that the dog is showing before it turns into something more severe. Now, we as humans are particularly bad at being able to recognise signs of stress and anxiety in our dog, and also in communicating, knowing how to communicate with our dogs, with our pets. Dog bites rarely occur for no reason at all, and it's very rare indeed for a dog to show no signs prior to attacking and just launch an attack for no reason at all, with no pre-warning signs. Now, dogs just don't typically lash out without warning. Dogs just don't do that. They give us warnings 99.9% of the time. They tell us that they're uncomfortable, and so they very rarely bite out of the blue. That being said, we as people are not particularly great. I said earlier we weren't good at communicating with our dogs. Well, we're also not particularly good at listening to our dogs and reading their body language and reading the signs that they're trying to show us, that they're trying to pass over to us, that they're trying to tell us. And they're trying to tell us that they are uncomfortable. In this little video that we're doing here today, I'm hoping that I can help at least, one family or one dog, one family at recognising these signs, and therefore they can take the appropriate action steps with their dog. And if I just get through to one family or even one person, then this little video has been really worthwhile. And I'm hoping that there's more than one family that I can share some strategies with. And I'm hoping that most people watching this video will be able to take a little bit of something away and at least be able to understand your dog's body language just a little bit better. Now, there are a lot of signs that dogs can display when they're feeling uncomfortable in any particular situation. And if you can learn to recognize those early signs, then you can intervene early and hopefully prevent any disastrous occurrences or instances from occurring. If you can recognize those signs, then you can interfere early and helpfully prevent any disastrous occurrences or incidents from occurring. So I'm going to turn on this little video in a sec. It's in the background here now, and I want to acknowledge the people that made it. And I'm using this video, and I'm going to talk over the top of it or through it. It's a silent video. It has some captions, but no nothing more than that. And I thought it was really succinct, and it was really good at showing some stressful behaviours of dogs. And these behaviours, they're called stereotypic behaviours, and these stereotypic behaviours are the classic behaviours that dogs will show when they're anxious. So I'm going to turn that video on in a second, and we'll chat through the different signs of nervous dog behaviour, anxious dog behaviour as the video is playing. So let me just turn that video on for you. So the first stereotypic behaviour we're going to talk about is lip licking and yawning. Dogs that are doing this when they're not tired are showing stereotypic behaviour. So you can see this dog, and I'll just go back a second, play that again. So you can see this dog here is avoiding eye contact. He's got a big yawn and he's licking his lips quite a bit. Now that's his way of trying to relieve anxiety and to also let everyone around him know that he's uncomfortable. Now, the next video that's coming up is one all about excessive blinking. Now, you see in this little clip, you can see he's being patted on the head and he's constantly lick-lipping and blinking. So that shows that these are signs that he's not comfortable in that situation. And those signs are very subtle, and those signs are something that would be quite easily missed if you didn't know what to look for. Next situation is another situation in which a dog is uncomfortable. And as you can see here, he's frowning a lot. He's got some wrinkles in his face. I'll just play that again. I'll leave it on pause for a sec. You can see that he's got wrinkles on his face and he's got a widely pulled back grin, and his ears are pulled back as well. He's not at all happy where he is. So I'll just play that video and watch for those signs. Ears back, grin, and wrinkles in his forehead. Now that dog is not happy at all. In this next video, we're going to see two dogs, and they're going to have a little bit of a fight, a little bit of a row, and then the little black dog, in order to calm himself and settle himself down, he goes off and humps his bed. Now, a lot of people will think that this is a sexual behaviour or a dominance behaviour or a dominant behaviour, but in this video that you're going to see here in a minute, it's a stereotypic behaviour. The dog is doing this because he's uncomfortable with something else. He was uncomfortable with having a fight with the other dog in the moments beforehand. And so he's trying to get rid of his anxiety, and he's doing that by humping the bed. He's trying to decrease his stress levels. A little bit maybe like me. I chew my fingernails occasionally. Other people may twirl their hair or pull at their earring, things like that. So they're stereotypic behaviours as well. And let's watch the stereotypic behaviours in this video. A little bit of a fight, a little bit of a row, and then now he goes away and he humps his bed. Now, it's not sexual, it's a stereotypic stress reducing or stress relieving behaviour. Now, in the next video, we're going to see a dog licking objects. Objects can be things like glass. A lot of people say that their dogs lick their paws because the dog's allergic. Now, obviously dogs can lick their paws because they're itchy or allergic to something, but they can also be licking their paws when they're stressed, and it's a sign of anxiety. And licking paws is a way to relieve stress. Licking glass is a way to relieve stress. Licking other objects is a way to relieve stress, because by licking these things, it releases endorphins in the brain, and those endorphins are trying to settle that dog down. So let's have a look at the licking objects stereotypic behaviour. You can see the dog is licking the glass, a very abnormal behaviour. It's a stereotypic behaviour. Now, a lot of people do know about panting during anxiety. It's a fairly well-known behaviour to most people, and most of us know that when a dog is panting, it's either stressed or it's in pain, it's uncomfortable. So we're going to have a look at a little fluff ball in a minute who's obviously not very happy about being caged or crated, and she's panting to show that she's not happy. So let's have a look at that. So she's not panting because she's hot. She's not panting because she's in pain. She's panting because she's stressed. Now, shaking, obviously if a dog's gone swimming, then he or she will shake to get all the water off. But shaking when they're not wet is something that some dogs do a lot. And if you start to look for it, you're going to see more and more and more of these behaviours down at the local dog park or at the dog beach, and you may even see it at home. Now, in vet clinics, we typically see it a lot because it is a sign of nervousness, of stereotypic behaviour. So having a big shake after a stressful event, as you'll see in this video, it shows how stressed these dogs are. Now, in this particular video, you'll see a young girl, and I'll say hanging off her dog, and the dog is not really happy, and the dog's trying to tell her, stay away from me, stay away from me. And you know, I'm not happy. That's too stressful for me. And the young girl is not reading that body language and is persevering. Now, if the family members, the family do not pick up on these small behaviours sooner rather than later, most of these behaviours will start to escalate because the dog says to himself or herself, I'm not being heard. I need to take this up a notch. I need to start being more overt with these behaviours. So let's just have a look at this video now. So now we're looking at the shaking off video, and you see the way the girl is hugging this dog, and the dog's trying to get away, from that young girl, and she's not letting him. And that is just going to stress him out more and more. So it's that sort of situation that can promote a supposedly or a dog that looks calm and cool and placid, and you're just walking away. That's the sort of thing that can make a dog of that turn and snap. And we as humans, as many humans, just do not recognize that behavior. And because we're therefore not asking that young girl to stop, that dog's behavior may escalate. And the other thing I wanted to show you, and we're getting right to the end now, is food refusal. So we make a big point here at Highlands Veterinary Hospital of giving every dog that comes in food treats as often as possible. And some dogs will take them and some not. Now, food refusal is a very strong sign of anxiousness or anxiety. And as I said, we try and win our patients over with treats. And sometimes these dogs are just too stressed, too aroused, and too anxious, and they won't take treats. Alternatively, some dogs will take the treats when they're on the ground, on the floor, and then when we put them up on the table to examine them, they'll then refuse to eat. So let's have a look at that situation here. So that dog is nervous, sniffs the food, but then stops and doesn't eat. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is complete shutdown. This is a situation that we see in some dogs when we're just trying to examine them and they're particularly nervous. They will just turn into blobs. In other words, they totally shut down. Let's have a look at an example of a shut down dog in this video. So this lovely Cavalier is just trying to pretend that it's not there and then we're not there. Totally non-reactive. So I just want to give you the credits for this movie or this video. So you can see from this short video that dogs do communicate with us. It's just our issue, our challenge is the fact that we can't read their body language. They may not be able to speak English, but they're doing their darnest to let us know how they're feeling. And if we are open to receiving that information and open enough to pick up or to pick up that information when they tell us they're uncomfortable, when they tell us they're anxious in certain situations and certain settings, then we can very well prevent them from feeling like they have to take that next step, that extra step. And that next step is, in many situations, growling or biting. So if they're not feeling heard, then they're going to escalate their behavior, even though they don't want to. It's therefore paramount that we learn to understand dog behavior. So please take this information with a grain of salt. It's not a specific recommendation on your individual situation. This is a general information piece only. And therefore, if you're experiencing behavior issues with your dog, or if you have any concerns how they're behaving in certain situations, and how anxious they are, or if you're having situations at home where your pet, your dog, and your children are interacting, this is not a generalized recommendation for you. You need to seek professional advice. You can come in and talk to me. You can talk to Carmelina, who's one of our behaviourists here. You can ring us up and ask for advice on the phone. You can book an appointment. Or if you're not in our area, if you're not a client of ours, go to your local vets. Most vets have some degree of training in behaviour and managing behaviour problems, and now there are veterinary behaviourists or behavioural specialists around. So you may even be referred to one of those, or you may prefer to go to one of those. So there are many, many ways in which we can help manage dogs' behaviour. And in most cases, something can be done to fix the situation. So I hope that you've learned something from this video, and I hope that what we've been through can help prevent certain of the bites that otherwise would have happened in 2019 in the year to come. So take as much of this on board as you can. Start to learn and recognize when your dog is feeling anxious and uncomfortable, and then do something to ameliorate that. I hope you all have, as I said, learned something from this. If you've got any questions about this at all, please send me an email, come in and see me, or give me a phone call. So we're always here for you, so feel free to come in and talk to us about this sort of thing or anything else at all, anytime you like. If you've got any questions, please yell. Thanks for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you. Bye.